One of our most common riparian trees, I guess you could say, it's usually not quite a tree out here, are the willows. Salix is the genus or the group that they're in, scientifically. The willows are interesting in that they are one of probably the most common plants worldwide, at least in the northern hemisphere, in wetlands, riparian areas, wet areas, and they have a ton of uses. Now locally, they would have been used for ceremonial purposes, in construction of some of the ceremonial shelters and things. They would also be used, the wood could be used in construction, can also be used in arrows. And then worldwide, one of the medicinal purposes for willows is if you've ever taken like aspirin, Advil, one of the first painkillers was actually in the willows themselves. If you chew on the willow bark, the chemicals in there will relieve pain, and that's where some of the first painkillers came from. Now another fascinating fact about our willows is you can take pretty much any species of willow, and if you cut them like this one is, remove part of the stem, remove some of the lower leaves, and you put them in some water or some moist soil, it'll start to root. Almost all the willows will do this almost all year round. They're just great at growing whenever they can. And then the other cool thing is they have so many little hormones in them that tell the plants when to grow, how to grow, that if you take a willow and you take part of the willow and you just kind of grind it up and make a willow like juice, willow water out of it, you can use that actually to help other plants start their roots. And then one other fascinating use for willows worldwide is that willows, because they're so great at growing, they're so great at starting roots from wherever, if you get pole cuttings, which are reasonably long branches, cut those off the willows and you make rows of them, you can use them for restoration, which is what we do here, but you could also make fences out of them, living fences, living walls, which are common, especially in parts of Europe, between the old cottages and stuff, to mark where the farms were. But willows are super fascinating. They're great for wildlife. Lots of birds live in them. Lots of insects eat them. They're just fantastic plants. And if you have a wet area in your yard or garden, if you plant a willow, even from a cutting, you can start them in water or just start them straight in the ground if it keeps wet. You should get a brand new willow. In California, the species we have several species, and a couple more ornamentals. And they're all very similar. They have kind of these blade-like leaves, usually kind of flimsy feeling. Even the hard, older wood can bend reasonably easy, but they are deciduous. So during the colder parts of the year, they'll drop their leaves and they'll come back in spring as the rains show up. So that's a key factor. All of our local willows, the native ones at least, are deciduous, and they're great at sprouting anywhere and everywhere.